Hi everyone. Oops. Wow. Energy. This is going to be a great panel. How do you feel? How is VivaTech today? Okay, so my name is Pauline Adam-Calfon from PwC, and I'm so happy to moderate and to speak in a panel that we chose not to be about why do we need more women. We do know we need more women, but what should we do concretely that works? Because we really want to move things. And so it's not only about pledges today, it's not only about intention, it's about actions. And that's exactly why we are going to discuss this with my guest. So I'm going to start with Thierry Jadot, and I will let you introduce yourself in a second, Jeannette Calandra, and Olivier Nolan. So we don't want to talk only about pledge, we want to talk about actions, and that's exactly why Jamais sans elle has been created. Thierry, can you just introduce yourself very quickly and just tell us what is Jamais sans elle, especially for those who don't speak French?
Okay. I'm an entrepreneur, and I've worked my whole life in big companies just like Publicis and Dentsu, and I'm the general secretary of Jamais sans elle. So Jamais sans elle means never without women. So that's an association that has been funded, and the founders are in the room today, in particular by entrepreneurs in the tech and digital fields that consider that women didn't have their fair place in this area. So what we do with companies, but as well with administration, we work on charts, which mean we work on conventions, and the conventions engage the company, in particular the high-level managers and the CEOs, to organize their structure to have a more balanced organization and to give to the women in particular the right representation in communication. Jamais sans elle is famous for several things. First, the hashtag is the most popular hashtag in French regarding gender equality. It's famous as well because in all commitments that the CEOs and top-level managers are taking, it means they are not going to participate to any panel, if internal or external, if there are no women on stage. And every CEO is engaged with that. And as well, Jamais sans elle is famous because the board and the association is composed by men and women, because our purpose is not only to promote women, but it's to promote a right balance between men and women. That's why men are engaged, and that's the reason why I'm an ally in that. So we sign conventions with big companies, SAP, PwC, McDonald's, Microsoft, but we sign as well conventions with ministries. We have a convention with the Ministry of Finance, we have a convention with the Ministry of Education, and we have a convention with the Ministry of Interior. This is what GSE is.
And to be honest, this is exactly why PwC, we really wanted to be a partner of Jamais sans elle, because we consider that this commitment fully resonates with our identity, our values, how we see equality, not only a question of women for women, but it's a question of human being. And I can tell you something, because we are really focused on action. This partnership, bad news, is very demanding. Very demanding for two things. First, Jamais sans elle. Wow, you're so selective. Just to tell you something, we had to work a full year just to co-create the charter that we signed together. So a full year. And it's very demanding because it's something that obliges us, because it's not only you do a very nice picture, you sign in and that's it. No, we commit. So within PwC France and Maghreb, we have implemented processes just to ensure that everyone commits and really does it. So just to give you an example, so we ensure that all the panels have mixity. We don't want panels that are women only, by the way. Huh? It's both men and women that needs to be on the panel. We have asked each partner of PwC to sign individually, and we have explained to them. We have implemented processes to ensure that we respect the parity in the panel, and we have decided to go further. For any client meetings that we have where we pitch, we ensure that there are women on stage. I would like just to show why this is very important, and this is the one slide that we have it. This is something that we did together, Jamais Sans Elle and PwC. We wanted to have a view of what is the real visibility of women as speakers. I'm not talking about the moderator, I'm talking about the speakers in the tech events. What do you see on the slides? You see three things. First, the major international events are the one where you have the highest representation of women as speaker. And on the contrary, national and even regional small ones, they are not there. You need to go to those and to sign a charter. Second, there is no real difference between speaker in a keynote or female speakers in panels. So that's good, because keynote is very good, and Jeannette, you can share your experience. And third thing, the role of the companies, of corporates, because the companies that are engaged are the ones that highlight women and say, okay, this woman can speak in this major event. Jeannette, I know you have an extensive experience because you are going to share your role in those events. What did you do concretely to make things change like this?
Sure. So first, good afternoon, everyone. It's glad to see so many people coming out for this very important conversation about taking action. So to introduce myself, Jeannette Calandra, I serve as PwC's Global Technology, Media, and Telecommunications Advisory Leader at the firm, and I've been with the company for over 30 years now. And so I've seen a lot of the progress we've made, but we still have so much further to go. I have a personal passion on this topic. I serve on the board of Project Glimmer, which is an organization that helps underrepresented girls of color create pathways for their careers and create a community around them. And then also do, which I'll talk about a little bit here, I partner extensively with an organization called the Female Quotient, which is helping gender equality across the board. So if I reflect back to some of my early days, and I'm going to go back to a technology conference I attended it was a tech cloud conference, specifically out in Silicon Valley. The first conference I attended like this, I went to go to the restroom in between panel conversations, and I went to go find a restroom. And this was in the big Moscone Center. I don't know if any of you have been out there, right? So there's plenty of restrooms everywhere. But they had actually taken all the female restrooms and they converted them to men's restrooms because of the number of men that were at the conference versus women, right? So it was like my first aha moment of like, gosh, we've got to think about conferences differently to making sure, because this is where the networks happen. This is where the deals happen. This is where the conversations, and if we didn't have equal representation at conferences like this, this was going to continue to challenge the advancement of women, especially in the tech industry. And so even, I think, as we've made significant progress, it takes intent. It takes focus to making sure that not only are we having the right stage conversations, but as a firm that we're showing up the right way. And I'll share an example just as recent as last year, where without that focus, that you could end up in the wrong place. So we participate in Mobile World Congress. I think many of you probably attend that conference as well. And last year, the first night of the event, when we have about 100 folks from PwC attend from all around the world, the first dinner, which was about 50 people, I showed up, and I was the single female partner at the event. And I was taken aback, because I know we have many incredible female leaders within our tech, media, and telco space. So I asked what happened, right? Like, where were all the women? And so what came to light was that when we looked at some of where the P&L ownership was within the firm, right? It was it was with more men than women, and that the women leaders didn't speak up to say, hey, can I go to MWC? Can I have the budget? So this is unacceptable. I got up in the middle of the dinner and had a talking to the group. And I said, we can do better than this. So next year I want everyone to take a +1 strategy. So if you're going to come, you bring a woman with you. And I'm happy to report this year at MWC, we were up to 40% women. So, sometimes it's just not that people want to exclude women, but we haven't had that moment to think about it and double check before we show up at these events.
Thank you, Janet, for sharing this, because that's a concrete example of action we can take. Maybe another topic which is important is recruitment. I'm so proud that with all the IT team within PwC France and Maghreb last year, in terms of recruitment, we hired 50% of women. So it was fully 50% of women and men that have been hired in tech. But we do all know, especially here, that it is a challenge. SAP, I know you're doing great. You are SAP. Olivier Nolan is SAP, but Olivier Nolan is also a person, so sorry. Olivier, I know you're doing great. You're a partner of Jamais Sans Elle. So how do you do to attract, but also to retain female?
So thanks first for the invitation. I'm very glad to be with PwC today for this critical question. So yeah, that's a big question. I mean, to attract the talent, we know that tech is, in terms of representation of women, is low compared to other industries. So at SAP right now we have 25% of women in the global workforce, and our goal is to be at 35. So that's a big increase. And among these 45, we want 30% of women in leadership positions. So that's also a big gap. So to attract, I mean, the first thing is obviously to make sure that when we interview some people, I mean, we have some women in the process. So which is the first topic, which is important. But the issue that we have is that we don't have enough women in some processes. So it starts with the beginnings. Actually, we need to make sure that women are encouraged to interview in the tech industry, that they feel that this is an industry where they can grow, that they can have some leadership position. So in France right now we have a big topic regarding the mathematics, because we see that the girls at school don't take mathematics as an option, and then they disqualify to enter the engineering school, for instance. So we need to work all together to make sure that mathematics is still appealing for the girls. Also that we also explain the careers in the tech industry. I mean, the impact that we have in the society. I mean, we are at VivaTech. We see all the great things that we can do. AI is there everywhere, so we need to make sure that they understand the great things, the great impact that they can have. And then you say, obviously, it's a question also of retention. And retention, it's to show some role models, some career paths, to make sure that they understand that they can do, how they can grow in this industry. And also a topic which is very important, and this is why we signed also the Jamais Sans Elle Charter, is also what happens in the company. And so. Sometimes women are impacted by what we call microaggressions. So we need to make sure that the environment of the company is safe, is really inclusive. Sometimes we think it's inclusive, but we don't really understand all the microaggression which can happen during the day. So for instance, at SAP, we signed recently, a few years ago, the Stop initiative in France. So I'm going to say it in French, but it's Stop au sexisme ordinaire en entreprise. So it's really to make sure that everybody understands, all these microaggressions that could happen in the company. The Jamais Sans Elle Charter for us is also important. It's not only important at the leadership level, but it's also important at every level of the company. So when we again the Jamais Sans Elle Charter, we made sure that all the managers of the company had the opportunity also to sign because we can't control what happened at the leadership level every day. So we need to make sure that everybody understands. So as you said, it's not only in public speaking opportunities as of today, but it's also in front of our customers. I mean, we are in front of our customers every day, and sometimes it's really tough to be diverse in front of our customers. So it's really an effort day by day, actually. And the last topic I wanted to mention is obviously to make sure that when you are a woman, and for instance, I mean, you have a baby, I mean, you make sure that this is not a moment in your life which is blocking you to take additional responsibility. So this is...
Can I pause on this just because on this specific point, I think because I know Janet, you're also a mom. Can you tell us how you managed to be a super wonderful mom, but also to be a super tech leader within PwC?
Well, I want to go back to the microaggressions first, maybe if I could touch upon that, because you made me think of something. Look, one of the things that comes to mind, because we think about it, and some of this is not with intention, again, but for all of us to be aware of what's happening. I'll ask the crowd this, and I don't know if this translates in French, but we have a saying in the US about mansplaining. And so I just, ask the women, how many times have you been in a meeting where you've shared an idea and there's been no reaction, but then a man steps up and says the same thing, and everyone goes, oh, fabulous idea. So I want to see hands out there, right? Like, this happens all the time. But we have a responsibility, both men and women, to do something, and this is where we talk about taking action. So, like, I'm going to ask both of you on either side of me, if you see this going on into the audience, right? Like, you could step up and say, you could interrupt and say, you know what, Pauline, I want to hear from her because she's the expert in fintech. Right, and then give that woman the stage. Or you can make sure that if you know that there's women in the room that have the technical expertise but haven't shared it in the meeting, then say, before we move on to this topic, hey, I'd love to hear from Jennifer over there, right? And so these are small things that make an incredible difference when it comes to women feeling included and belonging in conversations.
And this comes to, let's say, allyship, because again, this is a topic on which both men and women can act. Concretely, Thierry, how do you act as an ally to really foster gender diversity in tech?
And first of all, the charter we elaborate are co-built. It's a co-creation with the companies and with the administration, which means that they are tailor-made charter. Because just think about BNP Paribas. You imagine the retail banking, a huge majority of women in retail banking. Private banking, a huge majority of men. So, of course, the charters have to be adapted to the sector and within the company to the different areas to meet objectives that we build together in terms of KPIs. It's a journey. There is a journey that is has been pretty easy to meet, which is having, a balance in the executive committee. And Olivier said something very important. It's not only at the top management that we have to manage this or challenge this issue, address this issue, but it's everywhere in the organization. So it means that the manager has to identify. That's the reason why we propose to create talent pools, for instance. That's the reason why we propose with the brands to create mentoring. That's the reason we propose to create media training for women. When someone asks who wants to be a speaker in the next VivaTech, you have 100% of the men who say, I want to be the next speaker, and you have the women who think twice, but sometimes it's too late. So it's important to identify them, prepare them, and this has something to do with exactly what you say in the process of recruitment to say, this is the next leader, and this next leader will not only be a leader in the organization, but will represent very well our company. But it's not enough. It's not enough because I saw the numbers here, and I think the numbers are just 30%. It's not VivaTech organization that does the 30%. The brands, the companies decide who is going to be a speaker in each stand in this environment. So it's their decision. 30% here, 42% in Las Vegas. You see a huge difference. So how we manage this, and that's the reason why with Jamais Sans Elle, we have this deal and charter with the Ministry of Education in order to build events, in order to intervene in classrooms, in the university as well, because today in France, 57% of the graduates from college and university are women. 23% are embracing, an educational process in tech and digital. And even if they are 23%, you find only 13% of women in the tech and digital industry. That's the reason why we want, as an association, to go into the class, talk to the girls in particular, to say, guys, being an engineer is a fantastic opportunity. Do you know that in Europe the number of female engineers is declining? That's just crazy when we know how much our business in any sector will be impacted by AI or by the tech in the future. What is important, and according to me, is a male and female issue. That's the reason why there is men here, because we consider that the victim of a lack of women into the organization and in their representation are not the women themselves. The women are not the victims of that. The companies are the victims of that. Because if we consider that diversity is the main driver for innovation, so we need to build, more balanced organization at every stage of the companies and administrations.
Two last questions, because I think we want to keep some time for the Q&As. Very concretely, Olivier, can you just elaborate on how you can be an ally, because you are one of the, let's say, probably most famous CEOs that are really known not only to be a very successful in the business, but as allies. And a question also for you, Janet, just to get your views in terms of, okay, how do we reach better figures than the one that I showed, but how do we ensure that there is a topic of belonging? Because not only having women on the table and they're just there, how can we have women on the table that take decisions and that really act? So first question, very concretely, because I think there are many men that want to be as successful as you as an ally. What can we do on top of what Thierry just said?
Yeah.
And Janet about belonging.
Thierry said a lot already, but very concretely and very quickly. I think first, to be an ally, you need to be convinced. And so there's lots of studies, and you're right. It's not only it's also a question of performance in the company. It's a question of innovation. So I think you need to read all the studies and make sure that you are convinced. And the second topic is to be very pragmatic. So, for instance, at SAP, we have a lot of employee groups, and I think you have the same at PwC. Personally, I'm a strong believer in these groups, and these groups are working well, have an impact when they have some allies. So it's okay for the gender diversity, but it's also the case for every diversity, actually. So we have a LGBT group, we have a handicap group at SAP, lots of groups, and I think it's really powerful when you are engaged in these groups and making sure that, on a day-to-day basis, well, this is what we said, at every level of the organization, you have an impact. You know what to do to make sure to change things on an every day, actually. And the last topic, I think it's we need to talk about diversity globally. It's to have an impact. It's not only about gender diversity. It's every diversity in the company. I think I read a study regarding if you cumulate a few topics, race, gender, and so on. It's even worse, actually. So we need to make sure that we create an inclusive environment in the company for every uniqueness, actually. So how do we do to have women
So the key is belonging here, and we've got the data that backs that up. So each March, in connection with International Women's Day, PwC launches an annual survey across 55,000 global employees, and what we're measuring is the amount of inclusion and belonging that men and women feel within their organizations. And while women have made significant progress, there's still a significantly statistical gap between how men feel belonging to an organization versus women, and that cuts across things like, I can bring my whole self to work. I feel that I'm treated fairly by my manager. I feel that my views that I share with my manager are heard. Right, so really important topics. But why this starts to matter for business is that when you start to look at the women who are in the upper quartile of feeling that belonging and inclusion, one, they're less likely to want to leave their job. Two, they're more likely to ask for a raise and a promotion. So we think about this gap we have at senior leadership, right? So we need to create that inclusion and belonging when they first come into an organization, because that's going to give us the best shot at getting equality at the top of the house.
It's a passionate discussion. I think we could speak for hours, but we have a committed audience, and I think it's fair for the audience to give you the opportunity to ask questions to the speakers. So who has a first question? It's always the hardest, and I'm happy that it's a man that asks the first question.
Shouldn't be, but happy to fantastic panel. Just to add a comment, only 30% of female engineers, only 7% in France at least, of female tech founders, which is just a terrible figure. So question, it's a great time to be speaking about that topic, especially since actually for the first time the Nobel Prize Committee has awarded a Nobel Prize to Claudia Goldin, whose mainstay of work was about inequalities between female and males. And actually one of the key elements was at some point a bit touched by you, Olivier, which is the issue of actually not the work at work, but the domestic work, AI, who's going to take care of the kids and whatnot, where there's still this huge imbalance, and which her works has shown as being the crux of the matter. So understand for companies it's hard to tackle a domestic issue, a family issue, but are there ways where actually companies could help alleviate or actually balance this domestic work of taking care of the kids between female and males?
You want to go first, Olivier?
I will try. No, it's tough, but I think one topic right now is the flexibility that we offer in the workspace. I mean, and to male and women actually. So I think traditionally it comes from the fact that I mean the men were working and so, but no, I mean we offer the flexibility to everybody. So everybody can be at home on time to get the kids at school. Everybody can be at home to do what they need. So I think we offer, I mean, this equality in terms of treatment to do what you have to do during the day. I mean, we offer the flexibility to work when you want, at least if you deliver your job. So I think that's one answer to that.
And maybe if I may share another, because I fully agree with you, flexibility is absolutely key. Just one very concrete actions that we implemented within PwC France and Maghreb is around a specific timing in the journey, around, you know, when you become parent, okay? What we implemented last year is a massive offer to get slots, beds in the nurseries. And this, so we have now 100% of our people, when they ask us to find a nursery, we do it and we finance we finance the slot. So we have 100% of the requests that are now satisfied, and it makes a huge difference. And by the way, at the beginning we really wanted to do it specifically for women, just to help them find the solution. And it turns out that we also have males, and it's, by the way, it's a good way also to retain our people. So that's another way to answer your question. But Thierry, Jeanette?
I just wanted to say something. It's not only about flexibility, it's about leadership. And that's the reason why, sorry to be a bit provocative, but I think diversity, inclusion, and equality is not only a CSR challenge, it's a CEO challenge. And that's the reason why, as Jamais Sans Elle, we target the CEOs, because it's the guy who can put in place not only the HR, who can put in place everything is implementing at the moment to give the chance to the woman. And he's the guy who gives instruction to the HR processes in order to avoid all bias in the recruitment. And that's the reason why the fact that the CEO signed, the charter is a key element.
So Terry, maybe I'll share one of the best practices I've come across in this area about parental leave, right? You can create the equal parental leave for men and women, but are the men taking it as much as the women? So are you really leveling the playing field? And I came across this one global consumer markets company that the CEO, so going back to the leadership in this, had implemented a policy that if the men did not take the parental leave that was given, they had to send an email to that CEO and explain why they did not prioritize their family. Think about that. So you do that, you're going to level the playing field.
And I think this is a magic conclusion, and we can continue the discussion if you have other questions, but we have to stop because there are other fantastic panels just after us. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed, and I thought you will take some tips to help